Hello, Ben.
Hi.
How is your spirit doing in this moment?
I don't think I've ever been asked that. I think it's good. I think
Yeah.
everything's good right now. It's the beginning of the year, so it's like, top of the year, you're like in recharge mode, I think.
Mm,
So maybe that's what's happening to my spirit. It's getting
yeah.
recharged. It's getting
Yeah.
reset for the top of the 2022 season.
Yeah.
How's yours?
My spirit is feeling somewhat the same. I'm feeling this like balance of being inspired and like I actually really feel like this year actually feels like a new year, new me kind of situation.
Mm,
Um But at the same time, I've been really working with like just the natural seasons of nature. And I feel like, given that we're still basically in winter, there's still this call to like retreat and like be in rest and not be so rushed to get
I feel that.
into the year, you
No,
know?
I literally feel, and I think that the problem is, at least in my industry, in this culture or whatever, it's like everyone feels like they're failing right out the gate if they aren't going 100% right out the door. You know what I mean? Like as soon as I got back to LA from holiday break or whatever, you feel that, but I was like, I'm just literally gonna chill and I need to clean my office and get rid of stuff that's in here and just like literally like plan my goals and just what do I care about this year, um
Mhm.
which is hard because people start knocking on your door right away and yeah, so that's cool that you think that way too, because I feel that, but I don't think people want to admit that that's okay to do.
Yeah, yeah. And also like taking the time to like clear your office space, clear your home, like literally making space physically and even mentally, like checking in with yourself and like really taking that time to like set your intentions and like be very intentional with like how you're approaching the year, what kind of energy you're bringing into the new year is just as productive as like our normal perception of what productivity is.
Facts. It's so
Yeah.
important. It's super key. And I don't know, like me, yeah, like I think that just the first few days doing that, it's so dumb because it's just like I'm at my home office, but like I've been meaning to do so much in here for like the last 6 months of the year, and I could never do any of it, including pay some stupid bills, like like dumb bills, like I wrote in the express lane or some shit, and it just every month it adds up. Like here's another $5 because you haven't paid it yet, but I'm like, yeah, I'll deal with that later. But there's so much going on, you put all that stuff off, and I'm like, if I could just get rid of that, like I don't it'll never be haunting me anymore, It's seems so dumb, but it's very key. And so if anyone's listening to this and hasn't done that, like definitely take like a couple days to figure out like what would be the reset that you need, or just one thing, like just one tiny thing that could help you like find that balance at the beginning of the year. Um should hopefully motivate you, I think, to like feel free and when you're really actually getting into it and putting in the work. I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. You brought up that you have been thinking about like coming into this year, like what it is that you care about. And I feel like that's a perfect way to get into asking you to share with us what it is that you feel grateful for.
Yes, and you teed me up for this question. Like I was like, what should I put? Because I know there's the obvious stuff. Like I'm thankful for, I'm grateful for my family and health and all that stuff. Like that's obvious. Um, I I don't want this to seem like a cop out, but I'm really grateful for like this community that I'm building. Like it's been years in the making, and it's like seeing it level up each year and seeing people really connect the dots with different creators. And uh this Black Widow Cream thing, it's just a random name and a random idea, but like actually having that come to fruition and really like level up has been, I don't know, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to help however I can and give back, and longevity. I'm grateful for longevity. I've been doing this for a long time, and so it's cool to find a balance where I can keep like striving forward and keep pushing limits within myself, even when I'm exhausted of the idea of working hard or whatever. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Does that count? Is that a good one?
Yeah,
Is
of
that all right?
course. Of course that counts. And I like that you brought all of that up because I actually have that in my notes here of like like conversation topics that I want to bring up with you. And it's, sometimes hard for me to like outline conversations with people like you who have like accomplished so many cool things. And I know people listening to this are like, oh, like bring up Beyonce, bring up,
Yeah.
all of these things. But in this podcast, I like to really be intentional about like really bringing up, our personal growth and kind of things behind the scenes that we don't typically hear much about. And I know that you have so much resourceful content out there for creatives through Black with No Cream. And I know that you've done other interviews. So, but we're going to touch on what it is that you feel grateful for. And I think that speaking of longevity, I feel like in this current season of your life, well, I guess before I bring up what I feel your current season is, I'd like for you to share this, what you feel your current season is.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Like, what's my
Like, how would
season?
you describe this current season of your life?
Oh, cool. Um, I think it is about like the what would you call that? Like not work-life balance, but like it is more important than ever to me to like focus on myself and setting myself up for like a successful future. So much up until now has been like grind, 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 be in the moment, just take everything that comes your way, knock it all out because you have to make the impact, which is important. And I don't regret any of that, but it's exhausting and it can like make you kind of lose sight of like what's important. Right. So I feel like right now is kind of just making those plans. It's something that's stupid. Another thing I'm grateful for is this financial advisor I found named Mike from Iowa. My parents met this dude and the guy's already set me up and he's changing everything for me just as far as like investing. There's so much that I haven't even like thought about. You're not allowed to think about it because there's not enough time in the day or you're not knowledgeable on it and there's no real easy way to get into certain things like that. So something as simple as like making my money work for me, which is kind of set up for a lot of people who take full-time jobs. It's just handed to them. Most of them don't even understand that that's what's happening from each paycheck they get. But as a freelancer, you have to learn about how to do all that shit. So obviously I could go into that, but like I met this dude named Mike and he doesn't even charge me money. It's like the same thing with Black Widow Cream for him. He just likes helping people become financially stable or like setting themselves up. So I met this guy and in the last like 2 months, I've become so aware to something that I've put off and I've read books on. I've literally been like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get into this. And I've read all these books and all this stuff, but this dude just reached out and, held my hand and really helped me like just knock it out. And I felt like I had to hold myself accountable because I'd let this guy down. I don't know. So I think that's kind of where I'm at is like, those things I've just put off for so long. And that's how I'll take care of myself when I'm old as shit and my back doesn't work. And you know what I mean? I'm 70 and just trying to figure out how to man, I should have had a job. But those are the things you have to do. So I think I'm in that season. I think I'm in like the forward focus season and also just like enjoying life versus
Mhm.
letting it pass by really quickly. I don't know. It's weird because I really like the things I've been doing all the
Yeah.
time. So it's not like upsetting, but
Yeah.
more intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like people too who like really love what they do, like can sometimes feel guilty for like somewhat feeling the need to like take a step back or take a break because it's like, no, like I love what I'm doing, but at the same time, like I really need to go do this instead or take
Yeah.
some time for me instead.
It's it's like yeah, it's like what are you? Are you selfish for wanting to stop momentum? Are you scared of stopping momentum? Like I've I mean we can talk about what like the Black Window Cream stuff. I'll bring it up all the time because it's all that matters to me right now. Is like I've started that in 2016 and it was cool and it was working and we were giving a lot to it. And then after I toured with Beyonce, I came home and I was like, what if I worked as hard as I worked for Beyonce on my own thing? Like what if I gave all that energy? Obviously way less resources, but like let me try and contribute to it. And we went so hard all of 2019 into 2020. COVID happens, things shift, but we kept momentum going to the point where you burn yourself out. And then we paused everything at the top of last year. And then all year long, my pause was only supposed to be like a week. And then that kept growing. But like all year long, I kept saying, like, oh, next week I'm gonna finally launch this new community platform or I'm kind of gonna get the podcast back or whatever. Like I'm just gonna get back into it. And I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And I felt like I was letting people down, and I know a lot of people missed it, but I think taking that time off was able to help me like really center and focus on like where I want this to go and how can I best help everybody um at once. And I don't think I could have done that if it was just 1 week off. You know what I mean? I really think it took that, what do you call it? Sabbatical? Is that the right term? To literally just like not do some shit for, I don't know if that's definitely not the right term.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think, more like the like teachers and stuff use that term, but I think that counts because I
Yeah.
think you were very intentional about like the reason why you were taking a break. It wasn't just because like you experienced burnout, but it was also like, you know what, I need to take a step back to like really be intentional about like, what am I doing here? How do I want this to grow? Like, how can I optimize this?
Yeah.
And I am going to bring that up because I love how passionate you are about Black with No Cream. And I think that's very, very special. But coming back to the topic of this current season of your life, from the outside looking in, like I feel like with you having recently announced publicly that you are now, an ambassador for Canon,
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of you're kind of in a like full circle moment kind of season where like
Yes. That's a good way to put that.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can respond to that anyway. Were you taking that somewhere, or do you just want me? Because I can. It's
If
fucking
you'd
full
like to
circle as
expand
shit.
on it, I mean, I'd love to know how it is that you feel like with you like signing with Canon and this really feeling like a full circle moment for you.
Yeah, because I mean, the story I shared when I announced that I was partnering with them was like a short version, but it felt so cool because to me, getting into this career starts with me making that one big step forward and buying a camera, right? Like there's way more steps, obviously. And I mean, I was like into the career by going to Barnes and Noble and buying a $30 screenwriting book, right? So I did all that stuff prior to deciding to own my own camera. But being able to purchase my first camera was like I'll never forget it. The stress that goes into something like that. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like 2 grand maybe that I spent. And $2,000 is a lot of money, especially when you don't have any and you barely have 2000. So at the time I'm sitting there like working valet at a event center. That's where all my money was getting saved up at. And to pull that trigger to buy the camera, and I talked about my dog passed away, and I just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy this camera because I'm sad and don't give a shit anymore. And like, who cares? Like, fuck it, purchase. And I bought the camera, but like the full circle part is like that thing was the like watching the tech come out and seeing what that camera could do. I was just at home like a geek on my computer, like, oh my God, look at all the specs. And like, here's example footage from other people that already have it. Like, I need to have that. And having that thing just lit the fire. And then what I was able to like make with the ideas in my head, that piece of technology, it wasn't the biggest thing in the world. It wasn't the most expensive camera, but it was just the thing that got me going. And then to have that same company like care about me 12 years later to like want to highlight me on their platform, but beyond highlighting me, it was just like supporting me to keep being creative. And it's rare, really rare. Like all my friends are in this industry. A lot of camera companies support creators, but I've never seen a company want to support like Canon does. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an ambassador. Like I've literally talked to other people who are assigned to the other companies, and the support doesn't seem to be as apparent as this because they just really want to make a massive impact in my life and the other people that sign with me, and they care about Black with No Cream and why I want to help educate and like give back to other creators. And so to think like what did I do in 12 years time to make a company care like that and commit like that? And then how much does that mean to me to like be so afraid to spend the 2 grand, you know, but like to fast forward and have that same company, like my name's next to their name on their website. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like there's only 6 of us that signed to this program. There's like 7 billion people in the world. That's doesn't even make sense to me. And I'm like honored and all that shit. But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah. And all of that, I mean, not only just leading up to this, because you've accomplished so much in the past, you know, over a decade, But I think, it's important to note that it all started with that first step, with that one risk that you took, and at the time it's just like, I don't know if this is a worthy investment, but I feel called to do this. And I think too, when you take risks like that, it like helps you hold yourself accountable to like actually make use of that investment.
Yeah, it does. It's like, I don't know. It's funny because I remember getting it and it wasn't an investment even. It was just like, I need that to make the art. And so much of my growth in the first, like, I would say 7 years of me getting into this was never about making a business. It wasn't about how am I going to profit. I didn't even know that shit was possible. I was just like so obsessed with shit that I was looking up to, people I was looking up to, the art that was coming out of these people. And I was like, I could do this too. I can do this too. And so buying that camera, it wasn't like a responsible, I can make this money back if I do X amount of jobs over the next 3, 6 months. Like I'll redeem that money. Never even thought like smart like that. I had no idea that was possible. And I just bought it to have and to like create shit with my friends and really try to like get my ideas out on screen. And I mean, like I was terrible. Like the first, I was like, I got that thing and did the first thing everyone does when they get their cool DSLRs, like go take pictures of flowers and shit by a river. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh yeah, this is sick. Like this is so cool. It was all ass. You know what I mean? It was so bad, but like I slowly, by having the camera, you're getting called into scenarios because you're that person now. Like you're the, oh, Ben has the camera. Like have Ben come shoot my blah blah blah. This for my restaurant. This for a concert, whatever it was. And so I worked at a what's it called, a music venue in our town for a while. As first, I really wanted the job to of being the runner. Like I really wanted to go get all the bands their shit for their tour bus because I was like, that's so cool that I could like get them like some vegan tea and shit and put it in their bus. Like that's so dope. So I got that. That was like my first thing. And I also said also I could shoot like the photos too for like the website. And they're like, oh yeah, like to them they're like website person. And then I was like really bad at being a runner. I couldn't figure out like where vegan tea was at a grocery store and shit. So uh as I'm like becoming this like photographer, I had my camera to do video. Like I bought it specifically to do video. So then people will be like, yo, you're the photographer. I'm like, I'm not the photographer. I'm a filmmaker. Like I don't do photos. I just do video. And they would always have me take photos. And then throughout the year, I'm like shooting all these concerts. I'm becoming a photographer. I had no idea how to shoot photos for live music, but like it was trial and error. I didn't even realize I was like teaching myself how to do it. And then towards the end of it, I'm like, oh yeah, like I guess like I used to be offended that people would call me a photographer because that's not my lane, but now I'm picking it up and I love it. And then I learned how to do it. You know what I mean? So next thing you know, like I can shoot photos of anything and I'm passionate about it. And now I'm researching more. And that's crazy. Like I had no idea any of this shit would come from me just buying this camera. I was just obsessed with slow motion video. I
Mhm.
could talk, I ramble all day long. So feel free to cut me off whenever you want. It's I've told you that before. Also, two things I need to mention before we keep going.
Yeah.
One, just you have the most like zen voice of all time. Like listening to you speak, you're just like focused. You know what I mean? So shout out to you for that. You need to make like one of the meditation apps or some shit. And then two, she wrote the best interview of all time of me. It was like literally my favorite. I haven't even read it in a while, but I just think about it all the time. Like it captivated so much of what was going on in my life at that time. And so thank you. Like that was like the coolest shit ever.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. And I was planning on giving my gratitude to you at the end of our conversation, but I'll go ahead and say it now. And I just wanted to thank you too for just continuously being so supportive of me since like just being so open for the article. That was like one of my first DJ booth articles.
Oh,
And
so
even
dope.
then it was like, I don't know, I love coming across like incredibly successful people. Even when I was doing my research to do that piece with you, I was like, this guy like has accomplished so much. And then, when you like are inspired by someone, then you meet them, they're like actually a really good person. It
Yeah.
just makes it just so much, you just respect the person so much more. And when I interviewed you for that, I was still living in Arizona. And I think I remember telling you, like, I want to move to LA. And I felt so inspired by your story of like you moving to LA. And even I think I told you about like wanting to start a podcast and like you started your podcast. So you've played a significant role in my journey as well. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Oh
And
yeah.
having you on like my own podcast, my own platform is very special to me. So
I'm
I've been
stoked as
excited.
fuck. Yes, thank you for having me. It's so cool. Literally, I remember telling you in the interview, I'm like, hey, I talk too much. Like, just cut me. You're writing stuff. Like, there's no way all of this could be included. I just ramble. So, but I don't know. You're just a really good storyteller, and you're able to like really, you can think forward. I don't know, shit's just like flowing out my brain, but like you're so calculated and it's just very, very smart. You're very, very good at this. So I'm glad you have the podcast and you move in LA and you take advantage of like literally everything that's here. Cause on Instagram, you're like by the beach doing dope shit all the time. And I'm like, I've, I rarely ever get to even go over there. I'm just like stuck in the office. I'm like, I need to be more like her. She's killing this shit.
Yeah, there's so much beautiful nature in LA. Like I didn't even moving here, I didn't even expect that was going to be a huge part of like my experience here, but I've fallen in love with all the trails here and
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
yeah, make more
Yes.
time for that this
I
year.
know. I know.
So
I'm definitely going to do
beautiful.
it. I'm doing it. Anyway,
Um
sorry.
no, no need to apologize, but you have been in this game for like a very long time, over a decade. And you being in this like full circle moment, I want to ask you what your favorite self realization has been over the past 10 years plus,
It's a
whether
great
it's
question.
personal or professional, like looking back.
Um, yeah, I don't it's so hard to answer because it's been a decade of me like taking this shit serious, but like low key only like 6 years because that's when I moved to LA and I was such a newbie when I moved out here. I had like no idea how all this shit works. So it's like 6 years of really like doing this professionally, quote unquote, but like 12 years of me being obsessed with the idea that I could do it professionally. And I think the one thing that I feel I didn't really care about the trait, but I realized how powerful it was my ability to like build relationships. Like I just love meeting people. This goes back to before I was even into the film shit, like making music, and we would tour in our bands and shit all over the place and like stay at people's houses on their floor and like make friends in all these different cities, just playing like punk shows and shit in like basements in Atlanta and shit. And like I I just love meeting all these people and everyone like matters, right? Like every person that I would connect with matters. And um, I think that that's grown into a massive perk, I guess, now being out here because I just naturally can build and the trust with people that I work with. I can build trust with people that I could collaborate with. It's easy to like go to an event and I can just make it not weird. You know what I mean? Like being around people. And now it's like kind of turned into like, you meet me and I am either able to do whatever you need me to do, or I know people that can do whatever you need done. And so I'm constantly hit up. And before it's kind of annoying because I like get pinged for people and they'd be like, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you know someone? And I'm just like, yeah. And I've always, no matter what, I'm always going to do it. But I'm like in the middle of shit. And I'm like, why am I helping this random person that I met one time find somebody that they don't even want to pay that much money to, or maybe they want to pay a ton of money to? I'm like, it does nothing for me. That's easy to go to that mindset. But like every single time, like I've cleared that exhaustion factor where it's more like, yeah, who knows what's going to come for that person that I've connected to. And if it ever has any like not kickback, but like, if anything ever comes to me from this, like as far as like, hey, next, maybe you guys become really good and next time you work on a big project, you'd consider me or whatever it would be. It's more so like, the give factor, just like giving, putting that out there and then seeing what can happen for either that person and their success, like my friends did for me and allowed me to grow my name or whatever it is. It's not like they wanted anything in return. They just were willing to give me a shot. And so I try to do that for as many people as possible. And it kind of makes sense why I started Black with No Cream, because I'm like trying to do it on a mega level now. Um, so I guess that's my, in a short or a long-winded answer, it's like my ability to connect with people and build relationships. I think
Yeah.
that's been the sickest shit ever.
Yeah. Yeah. When I have these conversations too with people in all different kinds of industries, and we get into talking about the journey and like building up to the success they have now and what has contributed to that. Something that always comes up is relationships, like building relationships and just genuinely being a good person.
Yeah. It's
And
not easy.
yeah, it's not. And I feel like starting out too, it can be kind of difficult because it's like you don't want to be annoying, but you want to put yourself out there. And it's like you don't know how to approach people the right way. But something that has also come up in these conversations and that I realize is really important is like, I think when we first come into this, we like try to network or like build relationships vertically instead of like focusing on like horizontally. Or what I mean by that is like working with like the people around you, next to you, rather than like, you know,
Those above you and those that are
mhm,
going to catapult you. Yeah, it's
yeah.
true. It's, you have to find the balance too, because the people working next to you and around you are the ones you need to lean on when those above you fuck with you. Right. So like,
Mhm,
um, if someone at the top is willing to give you that shot or give you, you know, you need your resources. And if you don't have those resources, like then you're just kind of blowing smoke up. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
you're just faking it. And if you can't like really pull it off because you didn't have those people next to you, then no one will come back to you again in the future. So it is really important to like have the diverse, like, you know, all angles, you know, like I think that it's, and honestly, it's cool because I love the position I'm in and getting to do some of these cool ass things and being able to bring people who don't have the mentor or don't have the access or whatever it is, and trying to like get them in the spotlight like however I can. It's been really cool to have that be like an opportunity for me, and
mhm,
to support those people, because you never know what's going to happen. Like my homie Dave, who's like my partner in all this Black Window Cream shit and you know everything, he started out as an intern. I did not know him. He applied, said some good shit in an email, and I was like, you seem capable of cutting a podcast. So I got him on to be my intern, free intern. And then that turned into, you know, like him going to be my assistant on Coachella with Beyonce. And then he was supposed to be my assistant on tour, but I was like, yo, you're the other shooter. Like you're me, you know, we're the same thing on this tour. He got hired literally as the assistant, but like we're doing the same shit. And I wanted him to have that moment. And so it's so cool to see what that did for him, because I it was it was similar but opposite in where I was at when I started. So it was like a real grind at the beginning for me, like a lot of no paid shit for a long time, and to like get someone opportunity that's paid and with such a legendary artist and to like put them into that position is like the coolest shit. And it's been repeated like with all kinds of people since then. And I just love, I love that that's like an option for me. You know what I mean? It's fucking
mhm.
fun.
Yeah. And when I interviewed you for a DJ booth, I remember thinking like Dave has been a really big part of your journey, and seeing you guys still working together to this day. I feel like he's been a big part of your life.
Yeah. Isn't that random? Like think about how crazy that is. That, but that's why I always say like Black with No Cream did that. Black with No Cream was me just trying to like help people get their questions answered in a more public fashion so everyone could kind of benefit from it. And then it just pushed farther. Like I don't know why. I just was like, yo, how can I help other people who are like me getting started, or maybe they're already killing it but they still have questions, you know, like how can I help them? And then to like see things like that come from that name, like that name did that for Dave, you know what I mean? And that name's done it for so many others. There's people that have benefited from this thing and gotten some of the best opportunities, and I haven't even heard their stories. There's tons of people that have shared their stories. I don't even know who they are, but like I hear people be like, I got my first 5-figure freelance gig because of XYZ from the community or from the podcast that I heard this, or I did exactly like you said. There's so many stories like that. I'm like, man, that is like the coolest shit ever. Like, and what am I supposed to just be like, cool, here's an invoice? It's not about that shit. It's like the fact that this one entity can do that. So to have like earlier, to have Canon recognize something like that and then allow me to try to bring that to a bigger audience, or to allow me to supply them with the tools they may need or opportunities they never had, is like the coolest. It's like the coolest thing ever. So yeah, like the fact that Black with No Cream gave me a best friend, You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I love meeting people, and being able to have him in this space, and being able to have people I look up to teaching him, you know what I mean? Like, and him being able, he's a sponge, and that's what I always loved, is he was like able to sponge up so much shit really quickly, and that's what allows him to excel so fast. So yeah, I don't know. It's really dope. There's so many. There's another like, I've been working with Alicia Keys a ton, like towards the last end of 2021,
Mhm.
and
Everything
through,
you've put out with her, by the way, is so beautiful.
thank you. I
Like, I
appreciate it.
feel like it like encapsulates her perfectly, like her essence, her
Yeah.
like, yeah.
She does that shit though. I'm just like, okay, I'm just trying to like match the level, you know? And
Yeah.
she's been so cool and open to me and to the collaboration process, and she trusts me, to the point where like this content stuff, like they're leaning on me to help her find things when she needs it. Like, she needed someone to help shoot something. I can't remember what it was, Met Gala or whatever. And I was already in New York, but I was leaving. I was like, I can't stay like, I need to go home and reset. And I looped in this girl named Quinn, who won a Black with No Cream contest the year prior, I think. Maybe it was a year or two before that. It was the year or two before that, because this was like before COVID. And she won a contest. I didn't know who she was. She's from New York. She entered the contest. She lost one contest, competed in the next one, won it. The prize was like, she got paid to fly to Vegas to shoot a festival. Me and Dave were at that festival. So by default, we hung out with her for like 3 days. So we got to like meet her, learn about her, whatever. And I saw her working, and she was just like hustling and shit. And then after the fact, the stuff she kept continuing to make was so impressive. And I'm like, oh, this is so dope. So immediately, like through Black Widow Cream, she got put on my radar, and I always just remembered her. And she was a good person and shit. And then
Mhm.
when it came down for something like Alicia saying like, I need someone, I'm like, yo, Quinn, I'm gonna put Quinn in this spot. And I told her, I'm like, you're gonna become like that New York person for her, you know? And she got booked for that. And then she's been continuously working with her. She got flown down to like some fucking beach resort wherever. She's gone to Dubai and shit with Alicia Keys. Like, it's crazy to see the awareness to me of other people that exist, and then being able to provide them opportunities like that. I don't know, just feels really good. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
where I
I
was
feel
going with
like
that.
that's also like a reflection of, now that I'm like hearing you talk about this and we're expanding more on the community and the intention of it, it's a reflection of like your abundance mindset.
Hmm.
Like, there's plenty of creatives out here who like are afraid to share opportunities or don't want to share opportunities or like hold back from like sharing their network because they essentially like have like are kind of rooted in this fear of like losing opportunities for themselves or like, I mean,
Yeah.
there is like a borderline, you want to make sure that, you're giving, your relationship contacts and opportunities to people who like will actually like respect the work. But you being so willing to like, expand this network and give people opportunities and connect people with one another, I feel like again is just a reflection of you being like, yeah, there's plenty of work for everyone, plenty of
There
opportunity
is.
for everyone.
There's so much to do, and I know those people. I know those people who are afraid to like share that shit. You know what I mean? I've tried to bring them on my podcast and stuff. I'm like, yo, I just want to interview you and share your come up story so people can be inspired and shit. And like, yeah, I know. I just don't want to give up those secrets or whatever. I'm like, what? I'm like, all this shit is not like rocket science. Like, what we do is not like it can't be replicated, or someone can't devote the time to learn how to do what you do. It's all
Mhm.
possible. It's just about how are you going to get in the right room? How are you going to allow that room to like give you the key? And then what do you do with the key once you have it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that it's interesting that it is fearful for a lot of people. And like you said, there is a boundary and you don't want to give everything up, but like, what if someone smokes you, then they smoke you? Like, if they crush it so much that they take over your client or they take whatever, then it is what it is. Like, you can't stop someone being great at some shit or
Mm.
whatever. Or maybe they were able to build a better relationship with the person that had the key than you could. Maybe they spent more time befriending them and trying to like care about what's going on in their personal life with their kids or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Because so many people just come into it, they try just to make sure they get the check, you know, that's cool. That's the client. They call him the client. But like all my clients like now are my homies and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're texting about stuff, and honestly, like being able to have, I prefer that more than people who are more cookie cutter. And there's people like that. You can't get around it. But like, you know what I mean? If I'm spending so much time beyond just the job to build the connection between the people that are trying to hire you, you can't, you're not going to beat me in that because I care so much. So, but
Mhm.
if you do, if you care more than me, cool. But like, why would I be scared that that's going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no point of that. So whether it's me that's doing the job or there's someone's going to do it, you know what I mean? So like, I would rather try to put people in winning positions and try to give them more opportunities and flex their work as much as possible. And give them a platform to do it. And like, that's just me on text, right? With like being able to connect dots for people. But I think like with Black Window Cream, now it's like it goes beyond just that. Like hey, yo, Ben, do you know this person that could do this thing? I'm like, yo, you need to literally post that in the community. I just saw this dude, Aaron, I know him. He manages a girl named Samantha, and she's like a dancer, choreographer, creative director. And so she's trying to build like an all women's creative team and empower women with her platform. And so he just posted a whole thing in the community, look like seeking dope women in Black Window Cream that could help build up this team. And before it would have been like, hey, do you know anyone? And I might have sent some references, but now it's like it's up for grabs. Like anyone who is in that space had that opportunity to connect the dot and see like what could come from it. And that's major shit. You know what I mean? Because as the numbers grow and the more members we have and those opportunities coming in, it's like it's the lottery now at that point. Like my other homie Mike just put a job in there for like $1,000 for half a day to shoot some video shit for someone in LA. Dude named Paul took it and they exchanged info and he liked his work and he got the job. And then he DM'd me afterwards, like, dude, I just got done shooting. Thanks so much. It was so cool. Like he got paid $1,000 for because he was in Black Window Cream. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like that shit's so cool to me. Like that's like the
Mhm.
coolest shit ever. I
Yeah.
didn't make any money off that, but it's like that's sick. Like that's and those things are just, I don't know, that creates awareness. Like, you know, if some other young person like looks up to that guy Paul or looks up to any of those girls that join this like ultra squad, like at some point in the conversation, I bet that they're gonna point people back to Black Window Cream. And then maybe someone who felt lost will enter that space and connect with their and make their best friend, or you know what I mean, be able to like get true respect on their work or whatever it is. Like, so I know I'm talking mad a ton about the community, but like everything I'm doing is kind of for that at this point. Like I work to make my art and shit, and then every other day is like, how do I make this thing cooler? You know what I mean? And make
Mhm.
bigger impacts and shit. So
Yeah, and for those listening to this, by the way, like joining Black with No Cream right now is only $10 a month. I was
right,
browsing your website yesterday. Very well done, by the way. It looks very professional, very
thank you.
inspiring, very like easy $10 to invest in the community. Like
Yeah, I
such
feel
a
like
worthy.
you're gonna go to McDonald's or you're gonna go to fucking like somewhere and spend an obnoxious amount of money for like something stupid, and if that's more valuable to you than like $10, I'm like, all right, cool. I would rather have people that just honestly, the whole charging shit for like this thing is like it was very weird because when I started Black Window Cream, it was a Facebook group. The Facebook group was free. I was very about it because when I started, I didn't know what the fuck it was. And I didn't think it would take much time out of my day to just have a Facebook group. But
Mhm.
then I realized like how much more I wanted to create for those people in the community and how much effort it takes to like run shit like that. We're hosting contests with like other big brands. We're trying to like create events and networks. We're trying to like put like online seminars and shit. There's so much stuff we were doing on top of just the podcast. And I'm like, oh my God, like that, if we just had like a door fee for this thing, the amount of shit we could do beyond what we're already doing would be exponential. And so when we recreated this new platform and we're leaving Facebook and shit, like I know we have like 8,500 people in the Facebook group from around the world. Like, and it was hard to get in. I made a big pain in the ass to get into that free Facebook group, but I feel like we may lose a lot of those people when I switch to this new platform. But at the end of the day, I'd rather have people who are going to hold themselves accountable by, you know, it could be $10, a dollar, $100 a month, whatever it is. I think you're going to go into it with the mindset of like, I want to take advantage of this space, give to this space. I don't want it to just be about what you get from it. I want it to be like what you can provide and give. Like, I would rather have 100 people in this community giving insightful information, sharing how they were able to achieve XYZ, than people that are just kind of coming and lurking and trying to post when they want to flex like their new thing they made, So
Mhm.
to me, I was like, whatever. Let's just try it. And yeah, to me, I feel everyone's telling me like I'm under like $10 is like very low for something like this because now everyone has a community and shit. But I'm like, we can always raise it later. But I'm like, for now, I just want people to have a chance to get in and experience it, and then let me take that money and fund the shit we're trying to make with it.
Mhm.
Um, I can make way more money doing a job, I promise you, than whatever I'm making from this community. So it's
Yeah.
not like the financial, like change my life shit. It's really just like, how can I elevate a team and hire people? Dave and I have been working on Black and Cream for the last, since he joined it. And we have never paid each other. We paid a podcast editor, a graphic designer, another graphic designer, random people that would help us with the merch. We paid for merch to get printed. We paid for all the platforms and the shit to upload everything, but we've never paid ourselves because there's no money. We paid for the rent for the office that I had for almost 2 years just to be able to create cool aesthetic and make a place where people could come and do the podcast and shit. So it's never been about that, but it's a weird topic for me because it's like you said, it's like $10, like it's not that much. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I feel like people are offended if I put a price behind something like this. So it's this
Yeah.
weird conversation I always have.
I feel like, you have your own career, but I feel like you also have this other career of bringing this community to life. And I think, the proof of like just how passionate you are about this is, again, when I revisited our article, I remembered that you actually skipped out on going on tour with Kendrick to bring this
Yeah.
community to life. And then you got, all these years you've been building it, you got the Facebook group to 8,400 people, and then you decided to take the risk of getting away from that, building your own platform and going from like a free group to like, making it an investment for other people to join in, but it's still very, very accessible. Like $10 really is,
Yeah, no. It's
super accessible
right.
for like what they're getting. But that was still a risk for you to take. And I feel like you continue to take these risks for this community. And, aside from, your passion for like bringing people together and wanting to provide opportunities and like all of that, like, where do you feel like this passion, like for you to continue to take these risks and spend so much of your time and energy into this platform comes from? Like, what is it rooted in?
Um Shit, I don't know. I think I just experienced uh being in a room by myself, clueless for so long and hungry and interested. And it was very hard to find those resources. I mean, obviously that was like 10 years ago. So now things have changed and we have information everywhere. It exists everywhere, right? And I just, to me, I'm like, imagine if I had my little squad, like in Iowa. So I'm from Cedar Falls, Iowa. And Iowa is like my homie Chuck, Mark. Like I'm not even gonna list everyone off, but I had like my people that I could make my art with, and there's different pods of people to make different types of art with, and we all like would come together. And I just was back home for the holiday, and all the people that didn't have COVID, we were all able to link up at this like little diner shit where we used to go there because they had free pie on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
And all you had to do is buy something and you could low key buy the ice cream for like 70 cents. And you got a free pie. It was like a fucking ultra hack. And we were poor and shit. So we would just like, all right, cool, let's go get free pie night. And then let's talk. Like, let's just like create plans and think of shit and all this stuff. And so that meant so much to me to have that. And even with that, there's levels to it that I eventually moved by myself, like all the people I had and all the intentions we had to like we knew we needed to be in LA. No one ended up going. And I had to go on my own. So there's a level of you being secluded, even with people that you feel like you can lean on, but there's like, everyone's on their different path. And to me, it was like beyond that. And there's so much more I needed to learn and to have, um when every step I would have more people enter that circle that I wanted to create for myself as I moved to LA and as I continued to grow and make my art and shit. And to have that uh was so key. And so to me, it's just like, how can I help other people have that? And how I know what it's like to not get responded to by your emails where you're asking your questions. You might have spent a week thinking of how to write it and all this shit, and then just it gets ghosted or whatever. And so I don't know. I just always wanted to help. And so it just makes the most sense. It just makes the most sense to like be a teacher. And I think that's honestly like, I think it's like common. If you look at like all these like major directors and shit, they like go on to like become teachers at like random schools or whatever the fuck. And like now they're doing master classes and shit. Like
Mhm.
you can make art all day, and then other than that, you're just chilling at home or doing whatever you do. And I just think it's fun, and I get energized when I see other people's eyes like widen up and like the light bulb goes on. The podcast
Mhm.
is harder because like we record this and people may listen to this on audio only. They don't even see our faces. We don't get to see you listening to this.
Yeah.
So it's harder to see that instant gratification for people. But in the community now, we do these live events, and so we have like the Zoom chats, and people come in and hang out with us while I talk with like an expert on a topic, and then we open up to Q&A. And it's so cool just to see people in the background like nodding and like yes, like when you say some shit, they're like, oh my god, or they're commenting on the chat, and it's like it's so cool. It's just fucking cool. So I don't know, it's funny because I talk about that so much, but like the other thing I'm doing full time parallel to Black Window Cream is like making art and shit,
Yeah.
like, and that's a whole another thing that I don't even ever talk about anymore because it's just like kind of automatic, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And even when I'm doing some of the biggest projects, it takes me away from trying to help people. And it's funny because I could be like at the point of exhaustion, like creating some of the best shit I've ever created and be like, I can't wait till this is over. And then I get to go home and like try to finally like launch the platform or try to finally like host a real LA meetup or some shit that's like only gonna help a couple people, or it's only, you know what I mean? Like it's not like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
for finance or anything. It's just like that shit's so interesting to me. Um, it's weird.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. It's important to be of service. And, as creatives, like us in just creating our art is being of service to the world because art really makes a difference in so many ways that we've become increasingly aware of over the past couple of years how important creativity and art is for even just our well-being. But to take it a step further the way that you are and like be of service in that way to like directly be helping people is really beautiful.
Thank you. I know.
Um,
I don't know. I'm happy that that ended up being my thing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that might come from my family. Like my dad was a cop, my mom was a nurse. They did
hmm
everything they could to provide for us.
hmm
They Beyond that, my dad's one of 10 kids, and like my mom's the nurse of the family. So every time one of those 10 kids are getting sick with some random shit or needs her, my mom's there. So she's balancing having to take care of 3 kids and get them to sports and do all this shit. And then she's also going over and like helping my uncle who had like some random heart thing go on or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just constant, like everyone always was doing that type of shit. So I think that reflection of that's just what we do.
hmm
It's like, how
hmm
can we just help
yeah,
however? And then I don't know, I just luckily I love like the internet and shit, and you can do so much more with it too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to leeway into talking about, outside of your, own personal characteristics that contributed to your success, touching on more personal things like your family. And I know you're also in a relationship. You've been in a romantic relationship for a while now, I think.
Forever.
I'm guessing, those more intimate relationships that you have around you have contributed to the success of your career.
Yeah. It yeah, like I've been dating Lauren for almost 8 years. Um we met in Iowa, and she's moved out here now, and she's in the beauty industry and is crushing it. And so it's interesting. It's crazy how it makes you value things you choose to do and like why, you know what I mean? Like if someone hits me up and like, hey, could you come over tonight and do this thing in the studio? I'm like, now I have to, like, before I would have been like, yep, and I would just gone. But now it's like, no, if I don't watch Survivor, it will create turmoil. You know what I mean? We have to
Yeah.
watch Survivor tonight. So it's like shit like that where you find this balance. But honestly, it's like her, my parents, my friends back home. I have a huge friend group. And I still do, like, from people I grew up in high school to like, not, I would say the college era, but not like a lot of people that I met in college, but those people, like, that was when I was starting to tour all the time and music and all this shit. Like, I've had such a cool connection with people, and in such deep ways where I stay in touch with those people and I have those, and I might not get to see these people ever, but um it all just means so much to me. So like, it can be exhausting because you owe a lot of people your time, and it's not like you owe them, like, it's not like they're begging for it, but like, will feel bad in my personal time if I'm not making those connections happen. Or if like
Mhm.
time flies by, I'm like, God, how have I not seen this person in this long of time?
Mhm.
Um, that shit just drives me crazy. So yeah, I don't know. Just having like your rocks
Yeah.
are it helps you find the balance in life, and keep anchored down to like what your main things are, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and to who you really are. Like those people remind you of like where you come from, like where you started. And if you're open to expanding a bit more on your relationship with Lauren, like 8 years is a really long time. Like she's been able to witness, your growth in your career and vice versa, her growth in her career. And I think too, like for creatives, it can be kind of hard to be in the dating world because it's like, as freelancers, you don't know when you're first starting out, when the next paycheck is going to be coming in. And like things are always shifting. And you're like, okay, do I date a creative who understands the creative life? Do I not date a
Right.
creative? Like all of these, like traveling, if your like line of work requires you to travel and be long distance sometimes, what do you feel has contributed to the longevity of your relationship?
I don't know, because when she met me, I was like rapping and shit. I was like trying to be an artist and had all these goals. And I knew, like, when I told her about all this shit, she just told a story not too long ago, but she's like, the first night we hung out, I was like telling her like, I'm gonna move to LA and I'm gonna use music as like my passion, but like also my video skills. I'm gonna like do that to befriend artists, and I'm gonna try to get those artists on my songs because they know me through the video shit. Because I'm not coming in like, I was so strategic. I was like, I'm not gonna come in and be like I'm a rapper or I
Yeah.
can make music or songwrite. I wasn't gonna say any of that stuff to other musicians because they'd be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be like, oh, yo, let me do your videos, and then we could become friends that way. And I'll just like, also sidebar, I do this shit, and then you should get my album. Like that was like my plot. And I told her that shit, and she thought it was like the most cringe shit ever. Um, but then at the end of the night of us hanging out, like having talked for hours or whatever, like in her version of the story, she's like, damn, he's really gonna do it. Like at first she thought I was the weirdest. She's like, I'm never talking to this dude again. And towards the
Yeah.
end of the night, she's like, he is so fucking for real about this. Like he's gonna
Yeah.
figure it out. Obviously, the video shit worked and I was able to befriend a lot of artists, but I like just left music, like music life was stay behind, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like us, at that time, there was no, she knew, and like I gave the warning that this is like, I'm obsessed with this shit. And throughout the time, like she was like very giving to me. She always has been. Like she just would always be giving to me, being obsessed with like staying at my homie's house for till like 5 in the morning, just grinding on ideas and making shit, and like not being able to see her for a week. And then all that stuff, like that was just part of it. But I don't know. She knew what she was getting herself into for 8 years. Like maybe she wouldn't have stuck around. She probably like, nah, that sounds terrible. Because like when I moved out here, it was like a year and a half that I lived like on a floor of my homie's house, and she
Mhm.
stayed in Iowa, and she was doing hair and makeup, nails, that type of shit.
Mhm.
At a salon, she had a ton of clients. She was making her living in Iowa and like being a full grown adult, while I
Mhm.
was living on an air mattress with like holes on it and like not getting paid to try and
Mhm.
make an impact, and it didn't really make sense to anyone.
Mhm.
And eventually she moved out to LA, and right when she moved out, that's when I got the call to go on tour of Schoolboy Q. So like 3 weeks after she had moved there, which was not tight to her. She moved to California. She hated it. She missed her family. She just gave up her job and her clients to like
Yeah.
have no clients or jobs. We lived in a studio apartment, which to anyone in Iowa doesn't make any sense until you have to be in it. And you're like, what the fuck? There's no space here. We're both trying to work out of home. It was like not good. And then all of a sudden I get this cool, like this amazing opportunity to go on tour. And so she like turned around, went back home, lived at her parents' house, didn't have clients because she gave them all to someone else.
Mhm.
And at that time, she kind of I know I'm not, I won't give the entire story, but like at that time, it was interesting because during the downtime, she taught herself how to do eyelash extensions. And
Mhm.
that's like her whole thing now. She doesn't do any of the shit she used to do. And she's like really fucking good at doing these eyelash extensions. So she's like come out here and she's made all these new clients and like um totally changed her perception of living in California by doing it. She's done like Halsey's lashes. She's done Chloe Bailey, who's signed to Beyonce, and a ton of people. And but like touring with Q, I was out for like 6 months or some shit. It was like a really
Mhm.
long time. And then right after that, went into a ton of work, and then going into Beyonce's tour in like 2018. And then that goes into that was like a fucking full year basically, if you count Coachella. Even though I was in LA, I was like rarely here because we were just working so much. So
Mhm.
we've done tons of like this long distance thing, and we've built like our who we are as individuals and our own, what I mean, like we can kind of really do our own shit and stuff. And so this last 2 years, like I've just been here. And so it's interesting because it felt like it almost was like paused in various ways because we weren't able to like be normal people dating.
Mhm.
I was always like separated by shit. Um, yeah. So, and people always ask that too, because I know a lot of people struggle with it. Like, it's like, we definitely have our struggles, like work-life balance, that whole topic. Like, I didn't even know what that was until, um, you know, like this last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it can create turmoil, like your obsession with what you do. And if you don't find the times to like pause that and live your normal life and all that shit. So, um, that was like a huge thing to me, like, especially when we got the office, like the Black and No Cream office, I was like there all the time. So then I had to like teach myself to clock the fuck out, like,
Yeah.
why do I need to clock out? Because I need to make Lauren happy. You know what I mean? And we need time together. And it just goes by like that. Time goes by so fast. It's 8 years. Like, that's so crazy.
Mhm. So it seems like adaptability and just like really accepting each other and where you are in your own respective journeys has been like super key.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
is. It is. And now it's like, I don't know. We kind of got it figured out and we know what we're interested in. And um, we're stoked. We're just like stoked. And so we're always just trying to like, but it's like small shit. Like, just, it's so easy to like not go on a date, not go out to eat somewhere cool, or just even just go out to eat without like 2 weeks could pass by and you're like, oh, we haven't done shit, or I haven't left this room, or I've always been on this computer until 7 p.m. and then we clock out and we do whatever, we watch some shows and then you go to bed, repeat. And so it's like training your mind to like not let that, like, that sucks. And if it wasn't Lauren, say Lauren's not in my life, it's also like, cool, how can I pause that and go do some other shit? Like you said, like go on a hike and make that your thing, or go, like, I got all this camping shit and I really wanted to get into it last year. So I've gone a few
Mhm.
times, and those few times are so memorable and it was so awesome. Felt like the day lasted longer. But like just training yourself to be able to multitask in different journeys at the same time is like so key, besides it just being work. Um,
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with work. I fucking love, like, it's never, I wouldn't call it work. I hate that. That's like a weird 4-letter word that's what I do all the time. But to me, it's just, I'm just me, it's, sometimes I get paid to do what I'm doing and that's cool, but I'm just like so obsessed. So it is really challenging to be able to train yourself to not do this part because I'm so obsessed with it. It's weird.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And to like touch on like the family aspect, if you're open, because I do want to touch on this, if you're open to touching on it, because it's kind of personal. I know that, you've shared on social media that your mom has battled cancer.
Yep.
How has that impacted your life personally?
First off, fuck cancer forever. Forever. And I'm lucky. You know what I mean? My mom's gotten to battle cancer now twice and beat the shit out of it.
Mhm.
3 times technically. She had some weird skin cancer shit that was like uh I think less alarming in her eyes, apparently, but she's had breast cancer twice. And it's crazy because this third time where she found the shit on her skin, just because they caught it, she's a nurse. So she's like, somehow she's just like paying attention to what's going on. And she went in to have that examined. My dad was like, I'm just going to do my skin check too. And then they found fucking melanoma cancer in my dad's shoulder.
Hmm.
Just because he was like, nah, I might as well go get checked too if Tracy's going in. And so then he had it, and that was like really scary shit. And they had to like take out a bunch of lymph nodes in his, and like examine everything. And he's now cancer free too, and had to do this whole like, it's not chemo, it's like another thing. It's like very complicated, and it's just stupid expensive shit that's unreal. But like, um, life is fucking short. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's something I struggle with all the time because I really like love my family and I miss being around them. And so
Mhm.
like living in California is like so necessary for what I do, but my family's all in Iowa. The cancer shit was terrifying because like at the time my mom got, when she got her breast cancer the first time, we were fucking kids, and I was so dumb I didn't know what it was. Uh which is not my fault, but I was old enough I should know what it was, I think. But when she sat down to tell us all of it, she's like crying. And to her version of that story is hilarious because she told us this like terrible news, and then we were like, cool, so can we go and play? Like, can we go to the neighbors? Like, I think we always chilled at this neighbor's house. Can we go over there again? And then she's like, yeah. And then like we just like ran out the door, and she's just like, what the fuck? Like, just told them I could die. And they're just like, okay, see ya. And like, so for her, it was a little easier because we weren't like scared as fuck. She was just scared as fuck, and she knocked that shit out. And then the second time she got it, I was making music, and I was making music and I was performing. We, like I said, we did the rap shit, right? And we were good. We were like, we had this like good little thing going, and we would open up for all kinds of artists like Chance the Rapper and just anyone that was coming through. J. Cole. We opened up a bunch of shows. We were really good performers. My rap shit was trash, but um, she went at the time. I had also wanted to like go solo, like to have my solo thing going on, just because life was getting complicated. People were getting jobs. It was hard to do our group shit that we were always doing. We had like a band, all this stuff. It was just hard to always do it. And I didn't want to miss opportunities. So I was trying to develop my solo thing. And I got an opportunity to play a show, but I had to put it all together in like 10 days.
Mhm.
And I think on day 2, and I'm very stressed out. Day 2 is when my mom told me her cancer came back. And like that shit just like fucked me up. And then I was like, I just, I don't know it was like trying to figure out how to cope with that and like put that into the art of it, and like just really build something special for those 2 shows, knowing that my mom would come to the one of them, like that I was gonna do. And it was like a huge crowd, like we played in front of like 1,000 people, and I had the entire crowd at both shows yell "fuck cancer." Like I was like, everyone's fingers up, whatever. Yell fuck cancer is like the cool. I'll see if I can find the clip and send it to you. It's like the only Facebook banner picture on my personal Facebook page has been that since that night. Like I've never
Mhm.
even changed it. It's me and my homie Chuck just like this. Everyone's screaming this shit for my mom. And I was like, she's right there. Everyone says this shit. On 3, we're gonna yell it. And those were like really special nights, to like get a sea of people to like all, put that energy out there towards her. And luckily she was able to beat it. And but it makes you, at the time I really wanted to move to, and I questioned it and I really pushed it off. And I think my dad had told me, or maybe it was even my mom, like basically like, yo, this shit shouldn't stop you for like, you gotta go do it, and
Mhm.
it was the push I needed to like commit to it. But it is tough, not being able to be around people like that. My sister's having her second kid like probably when this drops. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't get to see my nephew that much, and now I'm gonna have another one, and like so that definitely sucks. But now, like I said, like getting to this point in my life, I'm like trying to make those priorities matter more. I'm trying to make me and Lauren be able to like do cool shit together, like go travel. We tried to like I was in that mindset right before COVID started. We did our first vacation in like 6 years to Hawaii. That was like the illest shit ever. And then fucking COVID came through, and I was like had all these plans like, oh, we're gonna do it again. We got to go somewhere out of the country, like all this shit. And so it's like trying to get back into that track of like trying to make those things a priority and do that stuff. get back to see my family more often. Like I went home for Thanksgiving for the first time since I moved to LA. And
Mhm.
I always just skip it because it's such a pain in the ass to fly back. It's so expensive to do that and then go right back for Christmas just to get to the spot where I live. And
Yeah.
getting to go home and surprise my family on Thanksgiving was like, it's not like like there was no one was even there. Our family was all out with COVID and shit. And like, but like my parents were there, my sister and shit. So it was like cool to like um just go be home more. It feels more normal, and I'm lucky I have the opportunity to like afford to do that shit and make it happen more. And like my mom came out here to LA with my aunt. I'll stop telling, I can talk all day about my family, but like this shit was so cool. My mom and my aunt came out, and my aunt had lived in San Diego. My mom had visited once before with my sister before she had her first kid. And so we did some shit. But like when my mom, she was coming out, I was like, yo, I'm gonna ball out. Like I'm gonna try to find some cool shit that we can do. And we like ate a ton of really, really good food. And then I surprised them with we took a boat tour out to do like whale watching.
Mhm.
Have you done that in
I
Newport?
haven't, but that sounds amazing.
It's sick as fuck. Like there was no whales, but there's hella dolphins. And like we would go out on this boat way out into the middle of the ocean. Like my mom's like, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe we're just on this little thing like out here. And like these dolphins are just like right around you. And my mom and my aunt were just like loving it. And then I took them on I rented like a fucking yacht looking thing, sailboat, whatever those things are called, a sailboat. And we got
Uh-huh.
to just like go on the sailboat for a couple hours, and we brought like wine and cheese and hung out in Sunset in California. And like all this shit was like just so fucking cool to like be able to do that now where I couldn't
Mhm.
have done it before. So I'm like, all right, sick. And then for Christmas, um, I got my mom. My goal's been to take my mom loves Hallmark shit. Like she watches Hallmark
So does
movies.
my mom.
So does every mom in the world. They
Yeah.
fucking love Hallmark
They love
Christmas movies.
Hallmark.
It's like the
Yeah.
same 5 actors, you know what I mean? But like they love
Same
these
story,
stories.
same
Yeah.
plot.
Yes, it's crazy and it's so cringe and shit, but my mom fucking loves it. And my goal's been like I want to take her to New York. I've been to New York a million times. My mom's never been, and she like loves the idea of the fucking Christmas tree and the skating rink and just New York in the winter and all this shit. And so this year, that's what I got her was like a an ornament of like New York City, like just a bunch of
Mhm.
shit. And then she's like looking at it, and then she like reads the note. And she's like trying to put it together. But I'm like, I'm taking you to New York for Christmas next year. Like that's the thing. Like finally, like that's been my goal for so long to do it. And she's just like, ah, she's screaming. She's like, I'm going to New York. I'm going to New York. Like telling everyone all this shit. I'm like, it's gonna be such a fucking fun time, And I'm
Yeah.
so stoked to like just be have the opportunity to do shit like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
family's everything. Family, friends, everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is a beautiful way to like bring things full circle. And we started with, the topic of you being in the season of like your life kind of feeling like things are coming full circle. It's interesting how like, when you're trying to make a life for yourself, like your own lane, especially in the creative lane, you're like, you spend so many years just putting your head down, learning the craft, like working hard, work, 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 work. And then you get to this point when you're like, actually able to like sit back and assess everything. And you start remembering like all of these things that are actually like really valuable to you, and, how you can be of service. Like, what's your purpose? Why are you really doing what you're doing? It's like this, I don't know. I feel like it's like a really beautiful like checkpoint in your career that you arrive to after all this time of like trying to make this life happen for yourself.
It is, and you coined it as um this being my season, but you're literally right because I would never even think of like being in these seasons and shit. I don't think of things like that, and it's it is crazy like the awareness that you're creating for me to understand that that's where I'm at right now because it's shit's going so fast all the time. It's already the fucking 12th of January. You know what I mean?
Wild, yeah.
The fuck? That ain't fair. Like I was like, man, like I need like the year to get done, and then I need a week where it doesn't count and we have that week, but it doesn't mean like we're on the 7th when that's over.
Yeah.
January 1 starts because we need to do a bunch of dumb, maintenance shit during that time. But yeah, I think that it I am glad to be in that position now and understand that position and what it means to those around me and what it can mean for me on the inside too, and like how it can be helpful for me, um, just to feel happy,
Yeah.
and so it's a it's a tough thing to take notice of, I think, in this career and this, like specifically the path I'm on, but for many creatives out there, because yeah, you are what it could be very easy for me to right now go down the rabbit hole of like, I need to figure out everything with NFT and fucking Web3 and the blah, 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 because everyone's talking about it and you feel this weird FOMO shit. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, either I'm going to be late to the party, just like I was with Bitcoin, just like I was with the stock market, just like I was, all these things.
Yeah.
You're just going to be like, it is what it is. You got to just go into it when you're ready for it. Like, if it matters, doesn't matter. Just because the internet's talking about it doesn't matter to you. Do you need to be a billionaire when you're fucking 35? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Does that matter? Like, it's just, I think there's so much shit set up to make us feel that way. And so you have to kind of find the strength to combat it,
Yeah. The strength to like really just uphold your own values and like stick to them and like not be so easily to like give into what's going on around you.
Yeah,
I
hands
completely
down.
agree.
It's definitely not easy. I feel you. I'm with you if you're going through it right now. There is many bonuses if you can figure out how to get to that level,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Well, there's so much that I can talk to you about,
Yeah.
but I want to respect your time and close this out with two questions that you can answer briefly
Yeah, you're like,
or
hurry
get in
up.
depth if you feel called, or get in depth if you feel called. The first question, I'm just going to tell you both. The best piece of advice you've gotten and the worst piece of advice you've gotten.
Best piece of advice I've gotten: don't sell yourself short. Pat Hagarty, my dad. It's a good one. He always told
Mm.
me that when I was doing jobs for free for people.
Mm.
Um, Worst piece of advice I got was from a person that he used to work with kind of indirectly. And he was telling me that I should break up with Lauren, when I was just getting started, because uh like it's never gonna work if you have someone like that, while he was standing next to his wife, which is funny.
Mhm.
This guy was standing next to his wife telling me this information.
Yeah.
Which I was like, yeah, there's got to be a way it's possible to maintain that. It's definitely not easy having relationships and shit, but like, I'm glad I did. What the fuck?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
but that could have been one. I don't know. Bad advice is like, I feel like I've just built the filter, like the illest filter of all time. The filter that you would need to like be able to drive your car through like the wood fires and shit, or like like a fucking biohazard. That filter is like so sick, where I've designed it to like find a way to cut through bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's, some stuff can seep through and you try to like question it, and you're questioning like, oh, should I do that? Should I do this? Like, is this the right move for me to make right now? Do I need to make this happen like in the next year, 5 years, whatever? Like, but I think you kind of know your guidance meter and like where you want to, which direction you're supposed to head, and it's easy to stay on course if you can like understand that, I think.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's also something that you develop over time as you continue to like make mistakes, fall, get back up, learn about yourself, try new things, find out you don't like them, find out what you do like, and then you start like building that inner guidance that like assists you
Yeah.
as you continue to progress. Yeah.
What's the answer for you off those two questions?
Oh my goodness.
Flip the script.
The first one that's coming up to my mind is a saying that my grandma would always tell me, and it's in Spanish. And she would always say, whenever I would talk about life with her, she would say, "La vida se vive en etapas."
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is like life is lived in stages, like in seasons. Like this is just the season you're in. This is the stage you're in, and then you're
Is
gonna
that how you
enter
came
a
up
new
with all
stage.
this? Like those questions that you're asking me is through her telling you this?
No, actually, but
She created the awareness early.
yeah, she did, she created the awareness for sure about just how seasonal life is. And it's been beautiful for me to like further progress that and deepen that awareness by like just observing nature as well, and connecting that to my own life and to our lives. But yeah. Like it's just a
I
beautiful
love that.
reminder to like remember like, this is the season you're in. You're gonna enter a new season and
Make
yeah,
some
that's
shit
ever
happen.
changing. Exactly.
Bad piece of advice.
Worst piece of advice. When I wanted to move to LA and I had my festival there and it was successful at the time. Still successful, but it's going through weird stuff because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I, had basically everything going for me, I guess, like as a creative. Like I had this success, I like built this successful festival. I had my business partner, like I was like known in my city. Like, I was, gaining notoriety and all this stuff. And I remember I was like really just wanting to expand more and like, get out of the boundaries that I felt I was in. And I started like really speaking out loud that I wanted to move to LA. And I remember someone told me that, like why would I, I'm a big fish in a small pond. Why would I want to become a small pond in, why would I want
A
to become
little
a small
fish
fish
and a
in a
big.
big pond?
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, why would I want to remain a big fish for so, like I think it's just so important for us to continue to expand
Right.
in our lives and not just stay comfortable in one place, even if it seems like you've reached somewhat of a successful environment or a successful place. There's always room for more growth and more improvement and just all this newness. So I'm glad that I listened to my gut feeling and my desire to like just continue to grow and take that risk to just continue to see what I'm capable of.
Yeah, it's clutch. I mean, you're literally like I don't think we'd be as competitive with ourselves if we didn't have like naysayers or um shitty vibes like that coming at you, because you're just gonna take it and be like, let me prove you wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and the people I try to prove wrong mentally in my head, or like those, like the cut out silhouetted versions of like those people that used to say that shit to me. It's like I don't even give a fuck to like even reach out to be like, ha ha, ha 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 ha. You know what I mean? Like you used to say this about me. Like, but it's just the figure, it's the enemy, it's like I don't know, it's just the perfect, like it's the perfect thing to have in the back of your head to make you feel like you're on the right track, or to give you the energy you need to attack it every day, to
Mm-hmm.
then like dominate what you really set out to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to have fucking shitty advice, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, it is. It is. And it also contributes to like strengthening that inner compass, like the instinct that we were just talking about, and how
Yeah,
important it is to like not be so easily swayed by what's going on outside of you or the voices outside of you.
facts.
Man, thank you for this beautiful conversation. I really appreciate you. And on behalf of all creatives out there who like come across your energy and come across your offerings to this world, like thank you for
Shit.
being so giving and so passionate about giving and making it easier for other creatives out there on their journey. And also, I just want to congratulate you on all your success. You really deserve everything that you've been experiencing and more. So,
Damn. Thank you very much. It's like the weirdest shit to hear someone give you such kind of like amazing flowers. It's like I just sit there, I'm like, should I shut my eyes? Like, what do I do? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? But I
it's like when someone
appreciate it.
sings you happy birthday and you're
Yeah, and
just
you're just
sitting
like
there like,
staring at them and shit. It's like, all right, we know how. But like I appreciate it. And I'm stoked to like keep it up. You know what I mean? It's fucking exhausting sometimes to like, at least on the giving side, to like give so much, and you're trying so hard to like create awareness on like why the thing matters so much, and that it's
mm,
not some scammy fucking whatever. It's like it means so much to me to like help people. So to have people like you take notice of it, like I appreciate that. And to have me on here and chat, like this is like a really cool, every time you've done this shit with me now, it's always really fire. You know what I mean? Because it's not like what I expect it to be. And so much of these things, like you get on here and it is just, let's talk about Beyonce and shit. It's like I understand, because that's like majorly important. And but I think like some of these things are important for people to hear, just to understand that like it's not much different than what we're all going through, you know?
Mhm.
So thank you. You're a fucking beast at this shit.